Okay, now that the 2018 NFL season is over, who are my top 5 NFL autographs of rookies, first or second year players that are going to be going up in value? That's today's topic on episode 16 of the Power Sports Memorabilia Show. All right, everybody, thank you for watching and welcome back. This is episode 16 of the Powers Sports Memorabilia Show. I am your host, Matt Powers. Thank you again for joining me, and please hit that subscribe button wherever you are listening, watching, wherever you are getting this content. So the NFL season is just over. Super Bowl just ended a few weeks ago, and it got me thinking, if I were going to be purchasing some autographs of some NFL young stars, who would I buy and why would I purchase them? So got me thinking maybe do a top 5 list of autographs to pick up of either rookies or first or second year players. So guys who are under 3 years in the league, so have a potential to go up in value pretty quickly. And so I've compiled this list of the top 5 guys for you here. So let's just jump right into it. Now, I'm going to be honest, there's probably really 4 guys on here that I would really consider putting some money towards, but you know what? People do things in 5, so it's a top 5 list, okay? So here we are, number 5. I got Nick Chubb, running back for the Cleveland Browns. So Chubb had a pretty good year, 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. He's got Baker Mayfield as his quarterback. They're starting to get a little bit more talent, some decent coaching. I think Chubb's going to have a pretty good career. Now, granted, running backs are kind of a dime a dozen sometimes in this league. But I like Chubb for the fact that, yes, he does play in an up-and-coming team with the Cleveland Browns. I never thought I would say that really all that often, but they are an upcoming team. They're 7-8 last year. They had 1 tie, so 7-8-1. Plus Chubb, playing at Georgia. Georgia's got a huge fan base. And, Chubb is, granted, they just signed Kareem Hunt for, a 1-year deal. So we'll see how that plays out. But I think Chubb is going to be a future star here in the NFL. The guy is just going to be, I think, one of those consistent players. So we'll see how he turns out here in year 2. But that's a pretty good, successful first year there with 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns on a Cleveland Browns team. Remember, so Cleveland Browns, and they had a coaching change too. So let's see if he can get a full year under his belt with a new coach and see how that goes. So number 4 is Jared Goff. Now, Los Angeles Rams quarterback here. I know Goff had a terrible Super Bowl. He was beaten up pretty bad. But the Patriots do that, man. Belichick does that to people when you give him 2 weeks to prepare, man. So, he had some misreads in there and didn't have a great game, but still had a great season. He's had a great start to his career. 2-time Pro Bowler. Got to a Super Bowl already, his 3rd year. So not too many quarterbacks can say that. He's got a lot of talent himself, but he's also got a lot of talent around him too, with Gurley and Robert Woods and whatnot. So plus they got a pretty good defense. So I think the Rams are going to be a pretty good team for a little bit. And they play in a big market. Of course, Los Angeles is a huge market for collectibles. I think Goff's going to be he's going to be getting better too, and I think he's going to be going up in value a little bit too. I definitely think he's one of those rising star quarterbacks in the league. Is he going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? I don't know, but I think he's got a big future for being a top 10 quarterback. So definitely a bright future for Mr. Jared Goff of the Los Angeles Rams. Number 3 is one of the top running backs in the NFL already, Mr. Saquon Barkley from the New York Giants. First year, 1,300 yards, 11 touchdowns, obviously Rookie of the Year. Plays in a huge market out there, of course, in New York. He's got that Penn State backing with the Penn State fans, so of course they love Saquon. But I just like the fact that Saquon is just a player. I mean, you talk to other NFL guys, and I remember watching the Adrian Peterson talking to Saquon after or before a game or whatnot. He's saying, "Man, I love watching you play." And this is coming from Adrian Peterson, who was, one of the top running backs for a long, long time in the NFL. And it just seems like the players know other players when they're good. And Saquon's one of those guys where other NFL players talk about him and their eyes light up like this guy can play, And, again, running back position is something that, can change very quickly. But Saquon, I think, is just a football player above being a running back, if that makes sense. So I see Saquon staying around for a long time. I can potentially see him being, maybe getting to that close to that 20 touchdown mark, maybe a couple receiving touchdowns too. So all depends on how things play out with Eli Manning and the Giants situation up there. But, man, they've got a little bit of talent, and if they can kind of get on the winning streak there, Saquon's going to play a huge role in that. And plus, man, he plays in the New York market. I mean, stuff's always going up in value there when guys are successful. So, number 2, one of my favorite players over the past few years, Mr. Baker Mayfield of the Cleveland Browns. Baker's hot, man. Any autographs I get for him that come in stock are just flying. It's one of the best-selling guys that I've seen in quite some time. And, yes, it's a little bit of his OU stuff. Yes, he won the Heisman Trophy there, of course, so that stuff is always going to sell to some certain extent. But it's really his Cleveland stuff. I mean, the Cleveland Browns have just kind of rallied around this guy, and finally, my gosh, what has it been, 15 or so, quarterbacks that they've had there that have just been crap, and finally getting a guy who's, almost took him to the playoffs in his first year, almost 500, which for, the Cleveland Browns 500 is kind of like making the playoffs, I guess, for a little bit there. But, he had 27 touchdowns, 93 QBR. But, the thing with Baker is he's just got that flair about him, kind of like Saquon, too. He's just a football player. And, you could just tell the guy loves playing the game. And when you see that kind of attitude about a player, fans just kind of really flock to that, and he's the kind of guy that's going to lead the Browns to the playoffs, and how quickly that happens and how many, potentially they get to the Super Bowl, I don't know, but they're definitely on the right track, and they got obviously, a new coach here midway through the season, so let's see, again, just kind of like Chubb, let's see how he does, throughout a full year, with the same coordinator, same coach, and everything like that. But I think, man, Baker's just, he's just, if I'm talking about young quarterbacks, he's one of those guys where it's just like, wow, you want him on your team, not because he's just obviously talented, but man, the guy just loves playing football, and you want guys like that on your team. Not to say other guys don't like playing football, but you know how it is when you play, high school and college sports. There's always that one guy that's just like, man, this dude he just got it, and that's Baker. So, number 1, I'm pretty sure you've maybe guessed it by now, but this was a very easy one to put number 1. I've talked about him a couple times on this show. If you don't have his autograph, you need to get it. This guy is just going up and up and up. Of course, we talk about Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. Before I get into some of his stats here, I just want to just tell you this thing real quick. In his second year in the NFL, playing the hardest position arguably in sports, he was the league MVP. Now, we're talking about the NFL here, Guys just don't come out of the woodworks and become league MVP. Like, you got to be a legit player to have that happen. We had Yelich from this past year, win NL MVP for the Milwaukee Brewers. That kind of came out of nowhere. You can kind of do that a little bit in baseball, not so much in football. Football is like, if you look at the past MVPs, like, they're all legit stars. Like, nobody's like, who the heck's this guy? Never heard of this guy. So for him coming out in his second freaking year, guys, that is just amazing. And plus, just like Baker, just like Saquon, he's got that it factor, man. And that is so contagious, and it's so cool for the NFL to have this guy playing. And, his autograph price is still somewhat affordable. It's gone up fairly recently, too. I remember one of his first signings kind of before the season began, he was like a $50 autograph. $50, man. That's a. How many autographs would you buy of him right now that were $50? If you'd pick them all up, but now he's going to be $200, for a premium item, which I still think is kind of a fair price, So, 50 touchdowns in his second year. His first kind of full year, man, that is just crazy. And you can tell when a guy's a star when fans of other teams are tuning in to watch, the Chiefs game, And that's how you can tell a guy is going to be a huge, huge star is of course, what other players say about him and what other analysts say about him. And everybody's got nothing but positive things to say about Patrick Mahomes. And the guy just loves football. And he's just got that maturity factor about him, too. I mean, with his parents' upbringing and his dad, of course, playing professional sports, that's a huge advantage. You've been around it and you kind of understand what to do and what not to do. And, the guy off the field, from what I can tell, is just an outstanding human being. And that is just so cool for not just the Kansas City Chiefs to have, but the NFL to have, too. And, again, a pretty affordable autograph right now. I mean, it's expensive. But he won the MVP. It's going to be going up a little bit. So definitely got to have some Patrick Mahomes in your life. Something hanging on your wall or something in one of your cases there. Maybe get an autographed football with the MVP inscription or something like that. So anyway, that's my top 5 list of young NFL players that I would be looking to pick up and seeing their autographs potentially go up in value. If you think I missed someone or you would change the list around, hey, tell me. I'm always interested to hear your guys' thoughts. And again, wherever you guys are watching, listen, again, please hit that subscribe button. I always appreciate you guys listening and watching, and I always appreciate the feedback. And whenever you get a chance, check out the website, powerssportsmemorabilia.com. Thanks again, guys. I will see you again next week for episode 17.